Have you ever had a moment where your entire world crumbles in an instant? Where the person you trusted most reveals themselves to be a stranger? I had that moment. And it happened in the lobby of my husband's company, while I was 6 months pregnant with his child. My name is Victoria, and this is the story of how my CEO husband let his mistress humiliate me in front of his entire staff, and how my 3 brothers walked in with a team of lawyers that changed everything. But let me take you back, because this story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with love, or what I thought was love. I met Daniel when I was 25. He was 32, ambitious, charming, and climbing the corporate ladder fast. He worked for a tech startup that was about to explode. Within 3 years, he became CEO. Within 5, we were married. Our wedding was perfect. Daniel was attentive, loving, everything I'd ever wanted. We built a life together, a beautiful home, careers we were passionate about, plans for a family. When I got pregnant last year, I thought it was the beginning of our greatest chapter. Daniel seemed excited. He talked about baby names, nursery colors, teaching our child to ride a bike someday, but somewhere around month 4 of my pregnancy, things shifted. Daniel started working late, really late. He'd come home after midnight, exhausted, barely speaking. When I asked if everything was okay, he'd say he was under pressure. The company was expanding. Investors were demanding. He needed to focus. I believed him because I trusted him, because I loved him. I started going to doctor appointments alone. He missed the ultrasound where we found out we were having a boy. He forgot my birthday. He stopped asking how I was feeling. I told myself it was temporary, that once the baby arrived, he'd be present again, that I just needed to be patient and supportive. I was so incredibly naive. Her name was Gabrielle, 28 years old, the company's new director of marketing, beautiful, confident, ambitious. I met her at the company holiday party when I was 5 months pregnant. Daniel introduced us casually, like she was just another employee. But something about the way she looked at him made my stomach turn. "So you're the wife," she'd said, smiling. But her eyes were cold, assessing, like she was measuring me and finding me lacking. I pushed the feeling away, told myself I was being paranoid, hormonal, insecure because of my changing body, but the feeling wouldn't go away. Daniel started mentioning her name constantly. Gabrielle suggested we pivot the marketing strategy. Gabrielle closed the deal with the investors. Gabrielle really understands the vision. Gabrielle, Gabrielle, Gabrielle. One night I asked him directly, "Are you having an affair with Gabrielle?" He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "What? No. Victoria, she's a colleague. That's it. You're being ridiculous." He made me feel crazy, like I was imagining things, like my concerns were irrational and unfair. So I stopped asking. I swallowed my suspicions and tried to focus on preparing for our baby. But then came the day that changed everything. I needed to drop off some documents Daniel had left at home, important contracts he needed to sign. I was 6 months pregnant, uncomfortable, tired, but I wanted to help. I wanted to be the supportive wife. I walked into his company's lobby at 2 in the afternoon. The receptionist recognized me and smiled. I headed toward the elevators. And that's when I saw them. Daniel and Gabrielle, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, her hand on his arm, his head bent close to hers, laughing, intimate, familiar. My heart stopped. I stood there, frozen, the envelope of documents clutched in my hand. Then Gabrielle saw me, and instead of pulling away, instead of looking guilty or embarrassed, she smiled. She actually smiled at me. I walked toward them, my legs shaking. Daniel turned and saw me. His face went pale. "Victoria," he said, stepping away from Gabrielle. "What are you doing here?" "You forgot these," I said quietly, holding up the envelope. My voice was trembling. "I brought them for you." "Oh, thanks." He took them without meeting my eyes. Gabrielle stood there, arms crossed, watching us like we were entertainment. "Can we talk?" I asked Daniel. "Privately?" "I'm in the middle of something," he said. "Can it wait?" Can it wait? I was his pregnant wife, and he was asking if our conversation could wait. "No," I said, my voice stronger now. "It can't." Gabrielle laughed. Actually laughed. "Daniel, maybe you should handle your domestic situation. We can finish this later." Domestic situation. She called me a domestic situation. I looked at Daniel, waiting for him to defend me, to tell her that was inappropriate, to stand up for his wife. He said nothing. "Who do you think you are?" I asked Gabrielle, my voice shaking with anger now. "I'm the woman who's actually here for him," she said, stepping closer. "The woman who understands his work, his ambitions, his needs, not the one who traps him with a baby and expects him to play house." "Traps him." She said I trapped him. I looked at Daniel. "Say something. Tell her that's not true." He shifted uncomfortably. "Victoria, let's not do this here." "Do what here? Defend our marriage? Defend our child?" By now, employees were stopping, watching, whispering. The CEO's pregnant wife and his young, beautiful director having a confrontation in the lobby. Gabrielle moved even closer, her voice dropping to a cruel whisper only I could hear. "He doesn't want you anymore. He hasn't touched you in months, has he? Hasn't looked at you the same way. You're swollen and needy and exhausting." "I'm everything you're not." Tears streamed down my face, not from sadness, from pure rage. "Daniel," I said, my voice breaking, "tell me she's lying. Tell me this isn't what it looks like." He looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the truth, the guilt, the weakness, the choice he'd already made. "Victoria, I think we should talk about this at home." "No," I said. "We're talking about it now, in front of everyone. Are you having an affair with her?" Silence. Painful, devastating silence. "Answer me!" I shouted. And that's when Gabrielle spoke. "He doesn't love you anymore. He loves me. We've been together for 4 months, and honestly, you showing up here making a scene just proves you're not the woman he needs." I stood there, 6 months pregnant, humiliated in front of dozens of people, while my husband's mistress told me I wasn't enough. Daniel still said nothing. He just stood there, looking at the floor, letting her destroy me. And that's when I heard the voice behind me. "Victoria." I turned, and there they were, my 3 brothers. Marcus, the oldest, James, the middle, and Ethan, the youngest. All 6 feet tall or taller, all dressed in suits, all looking absolutely furious. And behind them were 3 men in even more expensive suits, lawyers, carrying briefcases. I texted Marcus that morning. Just a simple message. "I think Daniel is cheating. I'm going to his office." I didn't expect him to show up. I definitely didn't expect him to bring reinforcements. Marcus walked straight up to me, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Are you okay?" I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. James moved to my other side, his hand on my shoulder. Ethan stood in front of me, facing Daniel and Gabrielle like a wall. "So," Marcus said, his voice deadly calm. "This is how you treat our sister? Our pregnant sister?" Daniel tried to compose himself. "This is a private matter." "Private?" James cut him off. "You let your mistress humiliate her in your company lobby, in front of your employees, while she's carrying your child. There's nothing private about this." Gabrielle tried to interject. "Look, this is between—" "You don't speak," Ethan said, not even looking at her. "Not one word." Marcus turned to the lawyers. "Gentlemen, I believe you have documents for Mr. Sterling." One of the lawyers stepped forward, opening his briefcase. "Daniel Sterling, I'm Robert Chen, representing Victoria Sterling in the matter of divorce proceedings and asset protection." Daniel's face went white. "Divorce? Victoria, wait! You're being served," the lawyer continued, handing him a thick envelope. "Inside you'll find a petition for divorce, a motion for temporary spousal support, a motion for child support, and a restraining order preventing you from liquidating or transferring any marital assets pending the outcome of these proceedings." "You can't do this," Daniel stammered. "She can," Marcus said. "And she is." The second lawyer stepped forward. "I'm Jennifer Walsh, corporate attorney. I'll be reviewing all financial documents related to Sterling Tech. including stock options, company valuables, and any assets acquired during the marriage. We'll also be investigating whether any company funds were misused for personal affairs. Daniel's face turned from white to red. You can't investigate my company. We can if marital assets were used inappropriately, she replied. And from what we've been told, you've been quite generous with company resources when it comes to Ms. Gabrielle here. Gabrielle finally looked nervous. The third lawyer spoke. I'm David Park, family law specialist. I'll be ensuring that Victoria and her unborn child are protected throughout this process. Any attempt to hide assets, intimidate the plaintiff, or interfere with her well-being will result in immediate legal action and criminal charges. By now, the entire lobby had stopped. Everyone was watching. Daniel's employees, his colleagues, his subordinates, all seeing their powerful CEO being served divorce papers and threatened with legal action. Daniel tried one more time. Victoria, please, can we talk about this? Alone? I found my voice. It was steady now, strong. You had months to talk to me, Daniel. Months, to be honest. Months to be a husband. You chose her instead. You let her humiliate me. You stood there and said nothing while she told me I wasn't enough. I made a mistake. No, I interrupted. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying the wrong thing in an argument. What you did was a choice, a series of choices, and now I'm making mine. Marcus wasn't done. He turned to the crowd of employees still gathered in the lobby. I think everyone here should know what kind of man they're working for, he said loudly. This is Daniel Sterling, your CEO. The man who got his wife pregnant and then started an affair with an employee. The man who used company resources to wine and dine his mistress. The man who let that mistress verbally assault his pregnant wife in this very lobby. That's defamation, Daniel shouted. It's only defamation if it's not true, Jennifer Walsh said calmly. And we have emails, credit card receipts, hotel bookings, and witness statements that prove every word. Gabrielle finally spoke, her voice shaking. This is harassment. I'm calling security. Please do, James said. I'm sure they'd love to hear how you've been sleeping with your married boss and using company funds for personal trips. One of the lawyers pulled out a folder. Dinner at Michelin star restaurants, weekend trips to Napa Valley, a diamond bracelet purchased on the company credit card. All while your wife was home, pregnant and alone. Daniel's face was pure panic now. Those were business expenses. A diamond bracelet is a business expense? Marcus asked. Interesting accounting. We'll be forwarding all of this to your board of directors, Jennifer added, along with documentation of the hostile work environment you've created by having an affair with a subordinate. I suspect they'll have questions. Daniel grabbed my arm. Victoria, please. I love you. I made a terrible mistake, but we can fix this. Think about our baby, our family. I pulled my arm away. You thought about our baby when you were with her? You thought about our family when you let her call me a trap? When you let her say I wasn't enough? I panicked. I didn't know what to say. You say that's my wife and I love her. Ethan said, well, that's what you say, but you didn't. Because you're a coward. Marcus pulled out his phone. Oh, and Daniel, you might want to check your company's email server. Turns out, Gabrielle has been forwarding confidential information to one of your competitors. Strategic plans, client lists, financial projections, all of it. Gabrielle's face went completely pale. That's not true. It is true, one of the lawyers confirmed. We have digital forensics evidence. You've been selling company secrets for 6 months. Daniel turned to Gabrielle, horror on his face. You've been stealing from my company? I was building my own future, she shouted. I wasn't going to depend on you forever. The lobby erupted. Employees were on their phones. Security was approaching. Daniel looked like he might pass out. So, Marcus said, turning back to Daniel, here's how this is going to work. Victoria is leaving. She's going somewhere safe where you cannot contact her. You will not call her. You will not text her. You will not show up at her home. Any attempt to do so will result in criminal charges. You'll communicate only through lawyers regarding the divorce and child support, James added. And you'll pay, generously, Because if you don't, we'll make sure every news outlet in this city knows exactly what kind of man you are. And if you even think about retaliating against Victoria or trying to hide assets," Ethan said, "you'll deal with us, personally." The three of them stood there, unified, protective, fierce. My brothers, my family, the people who actually loved me. I turned to leave, my brothers surrounding me like a shield. As we walked toward the exit, employees parted like a wave. Some looked sympathetic, others looked shocked. A few looked satisfied that their arrogant CEO was finally getting what he deserved. Behind us, I could hear Daniel calling my name, begging, pleading. I didn't turn around. We walked out of that building, and I felt like I was walking out of a prison. The lawyers followed us, already on their phones, already making things happen. Marcus helped me into his car. "You're staying with Sarah and me," he said. Sarah was his wife, and she'd been like a sister to me for years. "What about my things?" I asked. "James and Ethan will get them tomorrow, with the lawyers present. Daniel won't be allowed anywhere near you." I started crying. Not because I was sad, because I was relieved, because I wasn't alone. Because my family had shown up when I needed them most. "How did you know to bring lawyers?" I asked. Marcus smiled grimly. "The second you texted me this morning, I called them. I've suspected Daniel was cheating for 2 months. I just couldn't prove it, but I was ready." 2 months? I saw him with her at a restaurant. I didn't tell you because I hoped I was wrong. But I started gathering evidence just in case. When you texted today, I knew it was time. "What happens now?" I asked. Now we destroy him legally, financially, and professionally," James said from the front seat. "And we make sure you and your baby are taken care of." Over the next few weeks, everything unraveled for Daniel. The board of directors launched an investigation into his affair and misuse of company funds. Gabrielle was fired and faced criminal charges for corporate espionage. Daniel was forced to step down as CEO. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. My lawyers were relentless. Daniel tried to fight at first, but once the evidence of his affair and financial misconduct became clear, he had no leverage. I was awarded full custody, a substantial settlement, and ongoing child support. He was allowed supervised visitation once the baby was born, but nothing more. His reputation was destroyed. Articles appeared in business journals about the CEO who lost everything over an affair. His professional network abandoned him. His family was ashamed. 3 months later, I gave birth to my son, Alexander. He was perfect, healthy, beautiful, everything I'd hoped for. Daniel requested to be at the birth. I said no. He'd lost that right. He met Alexander 2 weeks later in a supervised meeting with my lawyer present. He cried, apologized, said he'd ruined the best thing in his life. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness where love used to be. "You didn't ruin the best thing in your life," I told him. "You ruined your life. Alexander and I, we're going to be just fine." And we were. I moved into a new apartment. Not huge, but comfortable, peaceful, mine. My brothers visited constantly. Marcus brought groceries. James assembled furniture. Ethan babysat so I could sleep. Sarah organized a baby shower with my friends and family. Real family. People who actually cared. Claire, Daniel's sister, reached out to apologize. She said she'd had no idea what her brother was doing, and she was horrified. She wanted to be part of Alexander's life if I'd allow it. I did, because Alexander deserved family, even if his father didn't deserve him. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I started a new job. Better position, better company, better environment. I was no longer Daniel Sterling's wife. I was Victoria Chen, my own person, my own identity. Daniel tried to reach out a few times through mutual acquaintances, asking if we could talk, if there was any chance of reconciliation. There wasn't. He'd made his choice. Now he had to live with it. Gabrielle, I heard, moved to another city after serving probation for the corporate espionage. Her career was destroyed. Her reputation ruined. I felt no sympathy. She'd tried to destroy me. Now she knew how it felt. As for Daniel, he eventually found another job, lower position. Less money, no power. He sees Alexander twice a month for a few hours, supervised. He pays child support on time because he knows if he doesn't, my brothers will make his life even more miserable. He's no longer the powerful CEO. He's just a man who destroyed his family for an affair and lost everything because of it. If you're listening to this and you've ever felt humiliated by someone you loved, I want you to know something. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to forgive it. And you don't have to let them define your worth. When Daniel and Gabrielle humiliated me in that lobby, they thought they'd broken me. They thought I'd beg, plead, accept whatever scraps of affection Daniel was willing to give. They underestimated me, and they really underestimated my family. My brothers didn't just show up with lawyers because they loved me. They showed up because they knew I deserved better. They knew I was worth fighting for. And they made sure Daniel understood that too. Here's what I learned. Betrayal doesn't just hurt because of what was done. It hurts because of what it reveals. Daniel didn't betray me in that moment. He'd been betraying me for months. The lobby confrontation was just the first time I saw it clearly. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Some people told me I should have tried to work it out. For the baby, for the marriage, for the life we'd built. But here's the thing. You can't build a life with someone who doesn't respect you. You can't raise a child in an environment where humiliation is tolerated. And you can't love someone who's made it clear you're not enough. Alexander is 1 year old now. He's happy, healthy, and surrounded by people who love him. He doesn't know his father's failures yet. Someday, I'll tell him the truth. But I'll also tell him that his mother refused to accept less than she deserved. I'll teach him that loyalty matters, that integrity matters, that how you treat people in their most vulnerable moments defines who you are. Daniel had a choice. He could have been a husband, a father, a partner. He chose applause and attention instead, and now he lives with the consequences of that choice every single day. As for me, I'm free, I'm strong, and I'm building a life where I'm valued, respected, and loved. That lobby humiliation was the worst moment of my life, but it was also the moment I took my power back, and I've never regretted it. If someone in your life is betraying you, humiliating you, or making you feel small, remember this: you deserve better. You are worth fighting for. And sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to accept their version of your worth. Stand up, walk away, and build something better, because you are enough. You always were.